Good morning and good morning and good morning and welcome back and thank you for joining us once again as we've convened to share with you this morning this edition entitled The Dream Team, and we are featuring some amazing experts in their fields this morning as our guest panelists from around the country. So we're certainly excited that you've decided to join us. And as I've indicated in my initial narrative, during this pandemic, we have really taken a pivot as it relates to communication and technology. And so I'm so excited to be able to bring to you this morning a whole new world of masterminds, if you will, as it relates to technology and the virtual space that has been provided to us. And a lot of people, unfortunately, were caught off guard last year during the pandemic. And so we're trying to help you reimagine, rebirth, reestablish some areas that you may either have had previously or need to incorporate into your business, into your ministry, into your nonprofits. And so we're here this morning to help you navigate through, improve, enhance whatever it is that you've had previously to begin to move forward to embrace this new age that we're in, this new season. So I'm excited to bring to you on this platform that God has so graciously allowed for me to get acquainted with. I was always a behind the scenes person. I'll administrate, I'll orchestrate the symphony, bring the team together, do what needs to be done from behind the scenes. But recently I've been thrust out in the forefront, and I'm excited. I'm excited about this new place and space that I'm in. So I invite you to just join me monthly. I thank those who've taken out their busy schedules to support us and join us on our monthly virtual sessions. We're grateful for our past presenters, and so we're looking for an amazing time today. And so again, thank you. So I would encourage you to share this broadcast. There are people I'm sure that you're familiar with that could use this wealth of information that's going to be shared this morning. So without further ado, I would really like to bring on this amazing individual by the name of Marlinda Henry. Good morning, Marlinda.
Good morning, Julia.
And how are you today?
I am good, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm excited that you've accepted our invitation to join us this morning on this Dream Team presentation. And I am excited because Marlinda, we have a relationship that goes back through another organization that we're affiliated with over the years, and I've watched her. Yes, I am older, I will admit.
But that is so funny, Julia, that you say that, because I was going to bring that up. You are older than me.
You're so kind.
But before you get started, Julia,
sure.
I don't want to cut you off.
That's okay.
I just want to say hats off to you, and thank you so much for allowing me to even be on this platform with you. I don't ever want to take that for granted. You have really opened the doors for many others, and including myself. And I don't want to go another minute without congratulating you and your amazing gift that you are to the body of Christ, and everything that you do as an individual and got vision, and everything that you are just to me individually, to the regions, to just people around the world. You are a gift, and we really appreciate everything that you do. I know people don't say it often. People, we don't get that type of thanks and, those accolades. But I want to publicly thank you so much for everything that you do. You don't have to open up these platforms for people. And I thank you so much for everything. So thank you for allowing me on this Saturday to just sit and be a part of this team with you all on today.
Wow. Thank you, Marlinda. That was so kind of you. I'm going to behave because normally I might have been shedding a tear right about now, but I so appreciate that. And I'm speechless now. So thank you so much. Thank you. And even with you, just like I said, watching you and gleaning from you over the years, and then even knowing your dad, my first introduction to full gospel, I met your dad and your mom, and that was we were in New Orleans at Superdome.
Yes.
Yeah, and I knew your dad. He was a connoisseur of eyeglasses, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And I remember when I first met him, he had on a pair of blue. I think they were frameless, but they had a shape to them. But I remember
Yes.
the color was a bluish hue.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, see, we do have a good past, and that's a good thing. And so, Bishop Henry, yes. So I want to continue introducing you, but thank you for that. I so appreciate, and especially since this week being National Administrators Week, hats off to you as well, Madam Chair Lady. Marlinda serves as the chairwoman. I don't know if you're the youngest ever served. Chairwoman of the National Coalition of Black Event Professionals. Mind you, I said national, not local, national. And she also serves as the International Director of Events for the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship International. So we have, as I said, some major players on this platform with us this morning, and we are certainly excited that she accepted our invitation. Marlinda could be anywhere, traveling anywhere, doing anything with top-notch Bishop Jakes, whomever, anyone. And she is sitting here with us this morning. So we are grateful for you. And so before I move forward, I just would like for you to tell us a little bit about who Marlinda Henry is.
Marlinda Henry was born and raised in Pasadena, California. And as you mentioned, my dad was a bishop in Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. Served until his passing back in 1998. And I have been working in ministry since, I don't even know, since the beginning. My dad started his church in 1983. And I remember working then, and excited about working in church. Always knew I had the gift of administration at a very young age. So that's always been a part of what I like to do. I love to put everything together. So you could find me in the office at a very young age, just doing the bulletins, calling members, making sure they were okay, just being that hospitable person that I've always been. We would do family functions and I would be the one, putting everything together. So having that gift has always been a part of who I've always been. And so I've always enjoyed doing what I do. My daughter is rubbed off on her. So she's in the field as well. During the pandemic, she's had to pivot because of different layoffs and things of that nature, which has led me now into the National Coalition of Black Meeting Professionals. So that's a little bit of who I am, just a little bit.
That's major. That's more than just a little bit. And you actually answered one of my questions for you was, how did you get involved with Full Gospel? But we know through your dad, Bishop Henry.
Yes, and I will never forget the phone call that I received from Bishop Morton. Serving Elder Mary Ann Williams, I always tell this story. I've served her many years during conferences and just serving at her feet, working with her, helping her with the conferences. And Elder Yolanda Griffin, mentors of mine. I always mention their names because, they have helped me, guide me, steered me in shaping me who I am and, really giving me the tools of how to run conferences. So I always will mention their names. Yeah. And so when Elder Marianne was making her transition, Bishop Morton said, Elder, who can I get? She said, Marlinda Henry is ready. Bishop Morton picked up the telephone and called me. And Elder, when Bishop Morton calls, you don't have there is not a no.
Right.
as Dr. Oliver says, there's a pathway to yes. And my pathway to yes on that day was yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's the only answer I had was yes, sir. So it was a yes, sir, for me. And that's how I got in back in January of 2010. I will never forget it.
I won't either, because I was we were in California at the regional bishops and administrators meeting.
Yes,
and we were. Yeah,
and my first conference was, and I didn't know what I was doing. It was all foreign to me. I remember my first council meeting, conference call. I didn't know what to say. I had all this stuff. It was just I was just so nervous. And then things just started coming to me, like, okay, I got this. And thank God, Elder Mary Ann has set things up. And that's what you always have to do. This is not ours, but you have to set it up in a way that if anything should happen, the next person is supposed to come in and just take it. The booklet should be ready for you. The area leaders, the area captains, they were already ready. So it was just like the blueprint was already set before me. All I needed to do was just walk into the door.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes. Perfect. I remember working. I did the behind the scenes, as I said. And I remember one particular day, she said, I wasn't elder, but Julia, I wasn't even a minister then. She asked me if I could cut the name tags that they needed for place cards or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting outside the council meeting, and again in New Orleans, and I was sitting on that white couch, and it seemed like I had to cut 1,000 names. And every time class would change time, I was still sitting there cutting. And I remember my pastor, and I remember cutting those name tags all day long. And I couldn't imagine what they were going to do with them. But that was my beginning of my serving with Elder Mary Ann. And so much so that I appreciate it. Again, the tutelage, learning and gleaning from her over the years has been a blessing for me as well. Yes. So your greatest accomplishments so far, because you're still young, of course.
Right now, my greatest accomplishment was a few months ago. I was featured on Cheddar Network I was on their morning talk show.
Okay.
I did about a 5-6 minute interview with them. Scared out of my mind, but that was my first assignment as in becoming a chairwoman. I had to get on national TV and do this interview. Wow. First time on national TV. I didn't know I was so scared, Elder. I'm not even gonna lie this morning. I was so scared.
Well, congratulations.
But that interview set me up, and I was so honored to be on that national platform. It was so amazing. That's one of my major accomplishments right now. And the fact that I am chairwoman of the National Coalition of Black Media Professionals at this moment, where we've had to pivot in this space. I've served as the president for the last 3 years up until now. And to see what we had to do last year with a lot of our members who were furloughed, lost their jobs. The hospitality industry was hit so hard, and we're still trying to come back. And the predictions are saying that we really won't be back fully until 2022, prayerfully. 23 is when they're really saying that we'll fully be back. So a lot of our members are still without a job on today. And a lot of them are just working at maybe 50, 60%. Our hotels aren't even full anymore. The people that they are seeing are people that are local coming in. People still aren't traveling right now. People are just out there. They're not sure if they want to travel. Our meetings aren't coming back strong like they want to come back. People are going from in-person to hybrid. They're still unsure. So my accomplishment right now is trying to build up our members and trying to get some confidence back into our people and encourage them to get out. We can do this if we do it together. And building shows and putting content out like this is really encouraging us, and helping people to find those better ways.
Well, okay. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting it up with you today. And I am looking forward to hearing from my other guests as you take this portion of our show forward. And thank you again for facilitating and navigating us through the Dream Team. So again, thank you, Marlinda. And as we say in Full Gospel, it's in your hands.
Thank you, Elder. And again, good morning to everyone. If you are watching, we do ask that you like, share, and comment. We don't want to just keep it to ourselves, but we want to share with everybody this great content. We have an amazing platform for you all on today. Some great presenters that you don't want to miss. So stay tuned with us, and we're going to move right into our first presenter, who is Robert D. Maxwell, a great friend of mine. Robert Maxwell is the CEO of the Right Squad, LLC. Robert lives right here in Atlanta, Georgia, not too far down the road from me. Robert serves as the Director of Communications at Elizabeth Baptist Church under the direction of Dr. Craig L. Oliver Sr. Good morning, Robert. He loves when I do that.
Good morning. Good morning, Marlinda. It's always good to see you.
Robert, it's so good to be with you on this morning. How is everything at the Maxwell household?
Well, we are faring well in the Maxwell residence this morning. You know, everyone is off to a great start, and I couldn't be doing any better. I'm speaking with you this morning.
Robert, that is so you right now. Robert, tell us about the Right Squad and what type of services that you all provide there.
So the Right Squad is a content writing business, and we provide a variety of services really predicated upon the type of client that we're dealing with. So for example, we provide content creation. So that's letter generation, communications for various events and whatnot. We provide ghostwriting, so we ghostwrite blogs or entire manuscripts for aspiring art authors. We do media writing. As a matter of fact, we did media advisory and some press releases for a specific event in New Orleans just yesterday. We of course do editing services for documents, academic papers, even syllabi for schools. So those schools that have problems with their syllabus, we are there to assist them in that endeavor, because again, writing and proper presentation is important.
I know you are a stickler for that. I do know that, having worked with you a very long time. Was there a particular moment or opportunity that gave birth to this company?
Absolutely. It actually started with me just when I was in college. And, you know, I've always written well, and family members knew that. And so there was, you know, a particular family member who had released a book and just asked if I would look at the first few chapters to, you know, do some light editing. And so we certainly did that. And that just kind of snowballed into other opportunities. And so then I actually started helping with the press kits and whatnot in the early days of Full Gospel. So like when the conferences for 95 and 96, I still can probably give you direct quotes from those particular press conferences, because we did so much, but it was great experience for me. And I realized one thing: people hate writing, and I like it. And so it was something, it really, my administrative expertise expresses itself in written form. And that is a skill set that is very needed.
So this is something that's natural to you. You could do this in your sleep, Robert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could. It just, my highest form, it's funny because, you know, many people know I preach, but my greatest expression is as a writer. I tell people all the time, I'm a writer that happens to preach.
Wow, that is so awesome because a lot of administrators, we have administrator skills, but our writing is not the greatest. And at what point would you say that a company should hire a writer? And should a company have a writer on staff?
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that you don't know it until you know it. Sometimes,
Mm,
unfortunately, the lack of knowledge in that area may never be able to kind of know it until you know it. So, for example, for some companies, the only presentation that people have of you, or the only representation they have of you, is what they see in written form. And
wow.
so when you release various documents, be it an email, this, that, and the other, if I don't know you personally, this is the representation that I have of you. And if there are syntax errors, or if it's just
Mm,
written poorly, or if it's just not written to suit the audience. So, because
yeah,
sometimes it's not so much that it's a poorly written document as much as it's just not suited to that particular audience. And so that's the representation that they have of you. So if you have an event, or you have any type of things that are going out, you want to get a writer as soon as possible. You really do.
yeah, yeah. Your mantra states that details matter. Can you explain to us what that means?
Right. And that's exactly, that leads right into what I was talking about, because the details, there's a
Mhm.
saying that says the devil is in the details, because
Mm,
it's the small details that matter. It's that one nuanced statement that can either sell an event or cause it to not go over as well. It's the phrasing, it's all of those different things that for the average person, they're not going to see that. I can look at a particular press release, I can look at a specific communication document immediately and say, oh, no, you need to fix that. Because
yeah,
again, details involve how the person perceives the information. So it matters. It matters.
yeah.
And also details control the message. So if my
Mm,
message, if one word is out of place or swapped, it can change the entire spin of the narrative that you're trying to create. And so whereas your intent may have been for one thing, the person who doesn't know you, the person who doesn't have an idea about your company, they don't know your intent, they've received a completely different message. And it's
yeah.
just about narrative control, message control. So no, details absolutely matter, especially in events.
Wow. So, Robert, I can't hire you quite yet, but I want to hire you. What tools can I use right now to until I can hire you?
Absolutely. There are a variety of tools that you can use, and sometimes it's just taking that extra bit of time. So number one, if you can't hire a writer, here's the thing. You want to make sure that before you release certain things, and these are conference materials and documents and things of that nature,
Mhm.
have someone else do a second look over. Here's the
Gotcha.
thing. Marlinda and Robert are smarter together than just Robert alone.
Wow.
My pastor says it this way: the IQ of a group or a team will always exceed that of the IQ of an individual, which is very important because you want to make sure that you have those second set of eyes to look over this information.
Mhm.
Okay, what are we trying to say? Oh, you actually missed that word. And I'm going to say the second thing, because we tend to be very sensitive sometimes
Yes.
with our information. We kind
Yes.
of have that Erica Badu thing. Listen, I'm sensitive about this. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we recognize, just because someone is saying, okay, maybe you should consider editing this, doesn't mean they're attacking you. They're saying, hey, let's win together with a sound message.
Gotcha. Robert, thank you so much for your time. And we're going to come back together and do a whole roundtable discussion because I have more questions for you. So I'm going to chime back into you in a little bit, but thank you so much. And I know our audience was extremely helped by what you just gave us.
Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. At this time, we are moving right forward with creative. Erica Nicole. That's our name for her. I love her so much. She's going to get me. Erica Nicole in 2012 launched the Ambiance Lounge, which has now evolved into the Ambiance Group, a management and production firm based in Las Vegas, Nevada. From the early age, Erica found a love for God, church, people, music, and a whole lot more. Erica, good morning and welcome to the panel. It's a California girl thing going on right now. You know, we're going to rep California. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's so good to connect with you. I'm sorry, you all. We have to have a little Cali
for me to see
right now.
You have evolved and and I was like, oh, Marlinda then blew up on us. Like,
no, girl, I'm still Marlinda. Stop.
No, I know, but I just think it's amazing just to see where you are now. Like, because I remember being young and like serving back at Full Harvest and then watching you then. You know what I mean? Like, and now to see it, I thought like, oh, she bombed then. Now, fast forward 20 years, and I'm like, yeah, I knew that girl. She had it. Like, it's amazing. I think it's great. Yeah.
It's so good to see you and reconnect with you. And I know the audience and myself want to know all about your company. Please share with us about it.
Okay. So the Ambiance Group, we serve creatives. That's the easiest way for me to put it. And that whether that is from authors, itinerant preachers, sometimes managing calendars, image consulting, and even, event logistics pretty much. When it comes to my city, we found like a niche, but we also serve in the Dallas area as well. And then wherever else we're needed. So basically, I'd say in 2012, I started this little boutique. It was almost like before pop-up shops were a thing. It was a pop-up lounge because I didn't have a brick and mortar building. But so I rented out a warehouse and actually transformed it, had a bunch of local artists come in, and wouldn't know that at 10 o'clock at night in Vegas that there was a audience for live music and things that we had seen in LA, Marlinda, like the Praise Connection, but Vegas had never really seen it, so we did it. It was like 300 people in this warehouse at 10, and people were like, what is going on? So we just continued to do like events, and that ended up leading into us hosting national artists, and then me having to travel to do logistics for national artists and such like that. But now it's more so a consulting firm where people have events, they're looking for answers, they're looking for solutions, or they're all over the place and they need us to reel them in. So that's pretty much what we're doing now.
So since the pandemic, how have you pivoted?
So twofold. Professionally, so we had to literally look. So I took the time for my regular clients that I have on that have me on retainer. I took the time to really divulge and look into their processes, their everything, their content, and went through and did audits to make sure that they were, performing to their, greatest potential. And then making sure that they were also producing content that was relevant and that would capture people's attention, because people weren't paying for, people aren't paying to watch. Not my dog. Okay. Okay, there we go. People aren't paying, they're not, you have to keep people's attention. So making sure that the content mattered and was relevant. That was that. But I think in the you never know what God is doing. So I'd say somewhere in the pandemic, I'm in hospitality as well. So, we lost 80% of our business in 2020. So it kind of made me have to sit back and, look at all of the gifts that God had given me. And it landed me in mortuary services. And it's crazy because we're still using the same skill set, planning, organization, sales, and ministry, and providing amazing services for families in need. So I'm grateful But yeah, I mean, the pivot was, it came personally and professionally.
Erica, go back one thing you just said. Did you say mortuary?
I did.
So you went from event planning with live to mortuary.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're hearing what she just said. She made a major pivot. She didn't stop what she was doing because the mortuary needs events as well, because that's an event business in itself, people. Like, and I'm not trying to be funny. And I've said this over and over again. That is a business in itself. And I have friends who come to my conference with National Coalition of Black Media Professionals. It's a whole organization out there, and they do conferences themselves. And I'm not sure if you're tapped into that, and I will definitely make that connection for you. But the mortuary industry, they need event planners all day long. Yeah. Because they run just like a conference.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, and that it's the pieces where, and I find it to be fulfilling. You know, I think that that's important. Like, I can't try to be a Marlinda Henry, because God didn't put me on the earth to be her, right? But God did put me on the earth to fulfill purpose as Erica, right? So I didn't know that purpose for me would be in that niche, and I love it. You know, it's ideal. It's you're getting to, you, all of the details have to still be. You have to cross every T and dot every I, but there's so many logistics that go into funeral planning.
Yeah.
And it's a necessity, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So your company is still functioning still. Mm-hmm. You're just functioning under a new umbrella though, under the same though. I love it. I love it. So you're there in Vegas. And mm-hmm. So give me a little bit more. I know you said you do some authors, your company mm-hmm. oversees some authors. So what are you doing for those? For them,
so
rather.
Basically just managing their calendars, looking at, well, not really looking over contracts, but making sure, literally it's almost, it sounds to minute it. It's almost like I'm a virtual administrator to them. Just their back office and making sure that everything is, you know, up to par and such. Same thing for itinerant preachers. Once a quarter, making sure that they have updated headshots, making sure that, you know, their bio is updated, getting their bio out, managing their calendars, their travel calendars, which thank God is starting to pick up again. Because 2020, you know, it was just like, okay, you got a virtual for this one over here, you know, but now we're actually booking flights again. And so it's really good.
Right. I know you said you had a brick and mortar. So is that building still up and functioning? Or
no, I said I ended up getting a brick and mortar, but I didn't have I'd started.
Okay.
I started without a brick and mortar.
Okay, thank you.
It was we literally marketed ourselves as a boutique, almost like pop-up lounge. And it was innovative, and it was something that only God could have given, because it kept overhead down. You know, because when you're not using that space, then what are you using it for?
Right.
You know, so I would literally just find cute venues in the city, and we go from there. But now, I mean, when certain groups come to the city of Vegas, they still reach out to us for marketing, for commercial, you know, commercial placement, whether it's through our local TV or press opportunities. We're still setting those types of things up for artists and groups when they come to Vegas. No matter, it could be a small event to a conference with, well, not post-pandemic, you know, right. thousands of delegates or attendees. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you all be glad when Vegas picks back up. And I know Vegas is coming back. We've been watching some numbers on Vegas.
Yeah. It's open. I mean,
it is open.
We're just, I mean, I think the shows, and you talked about hospitality and people being unemployed. You talk about an industry, the show industry here is huge. You know, there's about 100 shows that go on each night in Las Vegas. So for the search shows to be able to start back up soon, for artists to bring their residencies back. I think the tickets for the Usher residency went on sale yesterday. And then the buffets will be opening soon as well. So by July 1st, we should be back to full capacity and operating per usual. It was very scary to see the strip with no one on it.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. Well, Erica, I thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to our great panel discussion and roundtable that we're going to have in a little bit. So thank you again for your talk right now, and we look forward to seeing you in a few minutes.
Yay.
Thank you. Next, we are moving right along. Have you transitioned into the digital age? We are going to hear from Jarrell Jones, a lover of technology since a child, is the CEO of Ingenious Consulting, a faith-based tech consulting firm based in New Orleans, Louisiana. Jarrell currently serves as the executive pastor of the City of Love, throw your L's up, church in under the leadership of Bishop Lester and Pastor Fran Love. Good morning, Jarrell.
Good morning. How are you, Mar?
I am doing good. So he's my friend clearly because he called me Mar. If you're my friend, you know me as Mar.
I'll let the bag out. She's Mar.
First and foremost, I would like to start off by saying congratulations to Jarrell. Jarrell was just recently married.
Stop it. Thank you. Thank you for
that was your clap?
Dr. Joe, yeah.
Yes, Dr. Him and Dr. Joe. We love them so much. We're so excited for you. Jarrell and I have been working together. I've been in my position for 10 years. So, Jarrell, we've been working together.
I was there in 2008, so I was there a couple of years before you with Full Gospel. So we've been working together for 11 years now.
Yeah. We're friends. We're friends.
We talk all the time.
Literally all the time. Yeah. So good morning again and congratulations. We're so excited to have you on this great panel and hear about digital, which is your area. So Jarrell, give me a little bit of information about Ingenious and what you all do over there.
Good morning. We have great content from Robert Maxwell and Erica on what they do in terms of creative and writing. And what I do is similar to what they do, but from a technological standpoint. I started Ingenious Consulting about 10 years ago. I actually came into ministry from the hospitality and construction industry. That's where I started managing in those industries. And I started working for my local church, City of Love, in about 2007 or so. And from there, started using my administrative skills to enhance and improve and innovate many traditional methods of doing ministry. And from there, I learned that the skill set that I possessed could really help the church and the faith-based industry by taking things that we do normally and innovating them and adding softwares or adding hardware that can make things better. I remember there was one day my pastor used to preach from a pad where he had the binder with all the slips in there, and he used to stuff the slips in there every morning. But he had it on a PDF document. And so one day he had it all prepped and ready. Right before he went up, I grabbed the binder and pulled it off and stuck an iPad up there. And he's looking
gosh.
Yeah. And I'm like, go, and I'm gonna follow you. If you miss it, I'm gonna slip the binder back up there. And from that day on, he used the iPad. It was very early on that he did that. So it was small things like that began for me to see that I can take what I do in terms of innovation and technology and add it to the faith-based community and help to do those things. Just recently, with Full Gospel, innovating how we do our monthly calls. We used to do calls, I think 8 to 10 calls in 1 week a month, and combining that and figuring out how companies can be more efficient, more productive. And oftentimes that involves some form of technology or software. And that's what Ingenious Consulting does. We go into a business, church, or organization, figure out what they do, figure out how we can add softwares and technologies to make them more efficient and productive. and which results in more profit.
Yeah. I know you've transformed me. I call you all the time, be like, gee, I can't
All
do
the
this.
time.
And you'll
I
walk
can't
me
turn my
through it.
computer on. I'm like, Ma, press the power button, please.
Jarrell, don't tell the people that. Don't do that. But Jarrell will sit there, and I remember when you introduced Google Docs to us.
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
Jarrell, this is not gonna work. Oh no, this is not good. And it literally changed our life. And you were like, no, just get up there and I'll change as you're going. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, for us, because Full Gospel is made of a lot of either paid staff or volunteers or contract workers who are all over the world. So we had to have a system that we don't have to attach a Word document to every email, that we can operate independently in the cloud. And now we know everything is really moving to the cloud. So when we introduced that system, the G Suite system, it just made it work easy. So we can see real-time changes, real-time statuses on anything that we do. And that's what it's about. Church, as we know in this last year, has forced us to go digital and go into the cloud, not just with our administrative tasks, but with everything. Our ministry as a whole have been pushed into the cloud. So the task before was just a preview of what we had to do. And I think not just ministries, but fellowships and reformations as a whole, you saw them pivot and take what they would normally do in brick and mortar and take it to a digital space. And so that's where I came in, especially for Full Gospel with our recent cloud conference in 2020. You, myself, and Bishop Love were instrumental in launching that initial conference only a few months after COVID hit.
Correct. Let me go back to your bio. It said a natural lover of technology since an early child. Jarrell, when did you know that technology was your niche, was your thing?
Oh, that started early. I had a mentor, Coach Wavers, in the 7th grade. He actually pulled me into you had electives, and he pulled me into a class that he was teaching. It was an elective, and it was a computer class. I'm talking the time, I'm telling my age now, where it was like floppy disk and 3.5 disk that you had to put in just to play the games. And there was nothing major. I think it was the DOS system. It was very simple, all PCs. And I just fell in love. I mean, once I jumped in there, like, I fell in love, and it changed me. It changed me. My initial major, initially I wanted to be a lawyer. From there, I changed to computer information systems. And at that point, I knew that computers was the thing for me, but not just computers in terms of coding or building softwares, but how do I take these technologies and help others with it?
And this just comes natural to you, because the stuff you do, I don't. You don't read a book. I know you're not reading.
No.
A book. Thank you. I didn't think you were, because you just sit there and just figure it out. Yeah,
it's really intuitive. I think that's where we know when we know we're anointed for a certain thing. That God gives you a gift that there may not be a schooling or a formal education for it, but you can look at something and you can just intuitively know what to do, where to go, what to press. And so I just continually thank God for it, because I know it wasn't something that I was formally taught. I do some research and some studying, but the ease of education for me, even when I study these types of things, I know that it's only God. Because others can look at a software or look at something and still struggle with it. But for me, it just comes naturally. Like right now, one of the softwares that I use for conferences is what really supports my business through COVID. And it's a software that really anybody could pick up per se, but it's what I did with the software. I've been able to really transform it even beyond what the developers of the software were able to do. Like they called me and they said, nobody has ever taken our software and done this with it to put on conferences. So that's the key. How do you take something that's existing and make it better?
That's when you know you're anointed for it.
Yes.
The key word, Elder Julia, anointed for it. That's when you can take somebody else's software who developed it and bring it and do something else different with it.
Yes.
That's why you're ingenious.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know that the digital world has played a major part in this whole pivot pause that we've done with the COVID and in the pandemic. So of course, Ingenious has flourished during this this whole time. So you all have fared well. And what have you done during this transition?
I think that was the key for those who were able to fare well, is to quickly shift, pivot. You know, I know the word has become cliche now, to change, to transition, and to move into to jump into what we were already being forced to do. I can look at that from several arenas. From in business, we quickly shifted to, okay, how do we? I consult with other agencies. How do we take what we do in the physical sense and do it electronically? You know, for church, how do we take our services and put them online? What softwares do we need? What equipment do we need? How do we take the message and still allow people to receive it, though they're now receiving it from a screen in their bed at 9 a.m. on a Sunday versus being in person? And so how do we make those things personable and quickly shift and not get left behind? So in many industries, for church, I was able to quickly transition our ministry, shift staff, unfortunately, to those that were normally physical workers, and invest more into the creative workers, those that are behind the scenes often that don't get the credit. You know, the people that produce and edit, and the people that create content, those that manage the productions. Those people were really invested in this season because they were the ones that were able to get us to the level that we were during COVID and reach more people. And I think many ministries, many organizations saw that without a creative team, without a production team, that you wouldn't have survived. So Ingenious in particular, we were able to work with Full Gospel to put on the cloud conference. And from there, that really launched me into doing conferences for others. Just this week, I did a conference for Bishop Hilliard, Bishop Ivy Hilliard, Dr. Bridget Hilliard, the Women Who Win Conference. I've done Full Gospel Conference last week, the Family and Marriage Conference, other smaller event, virtual organizations. I've done many virtual birthday parties. There's so much that you can do, but again, you have to shift quickly. You have to pivot, transition, and invest your priority and time into what you know is working right now. If we would have stayed stuck trying to figure out how we can have physical church or physical events, we would have not prospered. But because we were able to jump in and move with the cloud, we were able to move our finances with the cloud as well. You know, so I've been really working to improve virtual events, because as we know, it won't go back the same. We'll go back in a hybrid situation. So how do we assure that in that hybrid situation that both areas, online and on-site, are still flourishing?
So I can't hire Ingenious right now.
You can't?
I can't hire Ingenious right now. I'm so sorry.
You
However, I just need a few tools to help me. Just a few tools.
There's a few things.
Okay, I'm listening.
I mean, it's if you are an organization, like I was just at my barber yesterday. I'm always with people and figuring out how they can improve their industry. He's also new into ministry per se. And I was instructing him that even with what he does, he could easily start broadcasting from his barbershop, and ministering to people, you know, doing some type of shop talk. You can do that through Facebook. You can do that through Instagram. You can get whatever you have online in a means that doesn't cost much, you know, airing whatever you do live, doing informational sessions, doing classes for people that may be in your arena. For you, Mara, you are a meeting professional, doing powwows or Zoom calls with people that are in your field, that you can at least give them tips. You can have a round table, you can have discussions. There's so many things that we can do with the restraints that we have, whether that's meeting in person or whether that's finances. There's softwares that we can use that oftentimes, if you can't afford the high-end software, there's a low-end software that you can use that sometimes has trial systems, sometimes that has limitations that you can work around. If Zoom only lets you do 45 minutes on a free session, do a 30-minute class, and close out, open up for 7 minutes, close out for 7 minutes, and it hasn't cost you a dime. So it's about being innovative and about being strategic about where you want to go, and you'll grow to the point that you can do a webinar with 500 people. But if you got to start with a 30-minute free session, that's what you have to do.
I like that. I like that. And then you also, I know we talked about Google Docs.
Yes.
You want to share a little bit of that?
Well, there's a few Google Docs. There's we are actually using a software right now called StreamYard. In our church, we actually use a couple systems. We're transitioning to a larger system, but there's Switcher Studio. It's a broadcast system that allows you, if you don't have cameras, you can even use your phones, your iPads. We had a couple phones that we weren't using as an actual cell phone. They're cameras now. They've become cameras. So there's so much you can do in terms of softwares, and that's why I come in Ingenious to see, okay, where do you want to go? And I help you gradually get there with the least amount of income immediately, with the least amount of expenses, and we grow to that place. We grow to a place where you can afford a 3-camera shoot, or you can afford a full online software or administrative technical system that can manage your business. But if you have to start with a free Google Docs, that's where you go, until you can get some type of software that will manage your business and whatever that is. Because I don't just work in hospitality, I work in other industries as well. Oftentimes with administrative systems, figuring out, okay, how do you manage your HR? How do you manage your payroll and other tasks that you may have to do with a technology or software that will work to improve your efficiency.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jarrell, for this time.
You,
this has been amazing. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Ma. Tell Mason hello. That's a dog.
You can just stay right there. We're going to bring everyone back up on the screen at this time and do a quick round table with everyone. Hey, Erica girl, Robert.
Hello there.
Rob, Erica, hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Great job.
Yes,
I enjoyed all of your sessions.
Yes, this was really, really good. Really, really good. I have a couple of questions for you all since we're all here right now. My first question is, what books are you all reading, or what book are you currently reading?
Okay, I'll jump in.
I'm who's going first?
I'm actually in school right now. I'm actually getting my MBA as well, my Master's in Pastoral Studies. So it's mostly school books right now. My reading capacity is not very high, so I'm like, look, I need to stick to the school books right now. So that's where I am.
Okay.
Erica. I just pulled back. So Sheryl Sandberg wrote LinkedIn. She was like first CEO female of Facebook. It just talks about being a woman in the marketplace and how we don't always lean in. We don't always take our seat. And so because my industry is kind of switched, you have to, obviously it'll humble you because you don't know anything in that area, but at the same time, you still have to assert yourself as they hired you for something, right? And then Still Like an Artist is the other one. It's a really quick read. It's by Austin Kleon. It says 10 things nobody told you about being creative. So, those.
I like that. Robert?
Okay. Well, I'm reading 2 books. The first one I'm reading, it's called How to Write Copy That Sells, and that's by Ray Edwards. It's a tool to help with copywriting. Again, as one who provides content writing services, I have to be apprised of APA format, MLA format, and the different styles of writing so that my clients don't have to. So that's one thing. And then for my leisure reading, I am reading a James Patterson murder mystery called Cross the Line. So yeah, I gotta have some fun. I gotta have some balance.
Gotta have the balance.
I get it.
Gotta have the balance.
Yeah.
Elder Julia?
So, real quick, back to Robert. Is there another book, Robert, that you have in your arsenal?
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. You know what? I did contribute. I'm a contributing author with the book by Bishop Randy Borders, and it's an interesting read. It talks about focus in the middle of transition. I made a transition from a family church to where I am now, and it's a lot of questions that people had, and those answers are in the book. I encourage you to take a read. I hold nothing back.
Wow. Jesus have mercy.
Thank you, sir. And currently, I have not begun, but this is my next reading assignment, A Fight Worth Having, Defeating the 8 Giants Stopping You from a Life of Victory. And it's written by Prophet Delavego Scruggs. And on the back, there's a quote. And my father used to share this very quote with us when we were children. If a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing well. And then it continues, if it's worth having, it is worth waiting for. If it's worth attaining, it is worth fighting for. And if it's worth experiencing, it is worth putting aside time for. And that was written by Oscar Wilde. So I'm looking forward to jumping into this book so that I can definitely learn how to defeat the 8 giants stopping me from moving forward in obtaining some of my dreams that I aspire for my future. Thank you.
And finally, I am reading, and I would encourage everybody to read The New Gold Standard. This book was written by the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. It's an amazing read for anyone in the hospitality industry. It gives you all the tips, tools, and traits that provides great customer service. This book right here will change your life. For anybody in the hospitality industry. Is a really, really good book.
Yeah, it's a great book. I actually worked for Ritz-Carlton before. That was one of my first hospitality industry jobs.
It is a book that they make all their employees read.
Yes.
So you all, Robert is going to love this. We start our meetings when we are preparing for one of our great conferences, every meeting of what a win looks like. When you're planning anything or getting a contract, someone calls you and they need help with something. What does that win look like for you? What does that win look like for that person on the other end? So what does that look like for you all when you get that call?
I'll start. For me, it's finding solutions to problems. Oftentimes, because I am the technical producer, technical production person. You get things that are non-traditional or last minute or spur of the moment, things that they didn't expect. As event planners, they need you as a producer to figure out the solution. They may be busy in the trenches. Just this week, we had something where many people were having issues finding their numbers or things like that. It's about you on the back end or working behind the scenes to find a solution so that person who may be carrying the weight of the event or the weight of the experience or whatever they're doing, to take that off their shoulders. So as a support staff or as an administrator or whatever you're doing, it's finding solutions to whatever the problem. And if you can go back and look at the problems that came up and you were able to successfully find solutions for those problems, for me, I take that as a win.
Erica, what does a win look like for you in this industry?
Yes, I think to piggyback off of what he was saying, I mean, yes, crafting solutions, but I always try to set out with SMART goals, attainable, measurable, goals for my clients, whether it's for the client or the event. I'd say last month, All Nation San Bernardino, they're one of my clients now here. I had them prior to the pandemic, and then we had to stop everything, and so they came back to the city and they gave me their goals, and to see them accomplish their goals, or for us to, and sometimes it is per telling the client's goal, but still when we celebrate the win when we have, sat down and come up with SMART goals and we've attained them. That's what a win looks like for me. Because every event is going to be different. Every client's going to be different. But if their goals are based on their intent, then you're going to win every time.
Elder Julia? Oh, I'm sorry, Robert.
No, go ahead, Elder Julia.
My win is having an amazing award-winning team such as yourselves on my team to help me to facilitate and fulfill the goal that is at hand. So for me, that's a huge win because I know I can delegate and rely on individuals to fulfill whatever, we might have set out a plan one way. Of course, things happen. And so I must assure myself that I have at least one person other than myself on that team that can help facilitate and put out some fires wherever necessary. So that's a win for me, is having a team like you all.
Robert.
And I will piggyback on what Erica indicated, which is for me, a win is when we accomplish what I would term the spirit behind the goal. Meaning sometimes just because a client gives you, this is what our objective is, and you have to go in, you have to refine, and you have to edit this, that, and the other. When we accomplish what the goal behind the goal actually was, what the spirit behind the goal was, that is a win for me. Because our clients depend on us for that. For example, they don't have to be an expert in MLA format or APA format. That's what they hired me for, you know? So those are the things that I consider a win.
That's good.
Yeah, I know for me, when we look at the overall, our goals would be like the registration. Did we meet those registration goals? Did we meet our budget? Do we have the right people at the table to fulfill the actual execution of the conference or whatever the meeting we're trying to take care of for that particular event? Another question that I had for you all, do you all feel that the church was prepared to pivot in the pandemic?
May I at first? And hence the purpose for this gathering this morning. That's all I can say. That's all I will say. That's the whole, principle behind why we're together this morning.
I don't know if the church as a whole was prepared. I think there are some ministries that were ahead of the curve, and those ministries were properly equipped for what came with the pandemic. But I think even those ministries did not expect what occurred. So I think even they are still changing and shifting and realizing what is to come, what is to come next. And as they shift and realize that church as we know it does not equate to four walls, that ministry as we know it does not have to be an in-person event, that someone can still have a relationship with God, be with their family on Sunday and not have to be in a building and still be safe and covered and receive the Lord through whatever means necessary, electronically or in person.
I will say I think as a whole, I agree with Jarrell. As a whole, no, I don't believe the church. I don't know that any churches, businesses, what have you, I don't know that any of us could have possibly anticipated this. But I will say this, on a providential level, it's amazing. With Elizabeth, the church where I worship, we went through a renovation where we did an entire sanctuary overhaul the year prior. And we went, and not only did we go through a physical renovation, we went through a whole spiritual renovation. And when you go back and look at those messages, it's almost like a call to what we were getting ready to go through. It's amazing because you can see the providential hand of God. We wouldn't be able to do ministry on the level that we're doing it now had we not gone through that renovation project. We literally we literally were only in the church, I want to say maybe a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened. And when I look at the infrastructure that we put in place, we were looking at, pastor, like, we don't need all of this. What is this? What is all this studio staging? This is a lot, because that's just not the type of church that we were. But, we had to become that church. And we were able to shift rather quickly because of that infrastructure in place. So overall, I don't think the church was prepared, but I do believe that providentially God was setting some things in order. And I will give credit where credit is due. So many churches pivoted well.
Mm-hmm.
See, the right squad gives you all those words providentially. You get all that when you talk to the right squad.
He's so eloquent with his words.
They just flow right off.
Yeah.
It's like you illustrate this most elaborate picture with your words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Erica, you have to hear him preach. You be like, oh, yes.
No, you need a dictionary at the same time. What he said?
Okay, we're going to get off of me. We're going to get off of me.
The incomparable Robert Maxwell, everybody.
Yes, that's why we call him Dr. Maxwell.
See?
I think that the ministry, like everyone else has said, I think the church as a whole probably was not. But there were certain ministries that you saw pivot even prior to 2020, and you saw a focus on e-membership. You saw, them starting to stream on YouTube weekly. And so those ministries survived. I mean, there's a church in Atlanta, we won't say any names, but they saw one of their largest audiences on Resurrection Sunday last year, and they were reaching numbers that we could never reach with brick and mortar or with people with church attendance. So now Matthew says the field is the world. So now we took church out of the four walls, like you guys have stated, and now we're opening up to people who maybe never would step into our church, but they feel comfortable watching in the living room. So the ministries that were able to capture that audience, I think that they're going to be able to thrive even after all of this, because now they may have e-membership of people who they don't feel comfortable stepping, they ain't trying to get suited and booted with us. However, they do have a hunger and a thirst for the word of God. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you all do believe that the hybrid mode will be with us and stay with us as a part of what church or events look like moving forward?
Yes, completely. I know Erica said she didn't want to say a name, but there's another church that I heard their pastor, he's blowing up right now. He mentioned that before COVID, they had so many YouTube videos and clips that they were just storing online. And once we went into a COVID season, people started looking for ministry. And those YouTube clips that may have gotten only a couple thousand hits are now getting millions of views and millions of hits. And that's the key. Sometimes you have to trust the spirit. You have to trust what you're doing. And if you're creating that content and you put it out there, it may take a year, it may take 3 years, 5 years. But if it's good content and you put it in the cloud, you put it a place where somebody can access it, one day it may take off. All it takes is one thing to hit, and then they get to know who you are, and they go in and they start digesting all of your content, and they start sharing all your content. Just like this may be online for a minute, but then once somebody catches it, and once it takes off, it can hit millions of views. But if you don't do that, if you think, okay, no, it's not working, or I don't have good content, or nobody wants to see me, if there's one, there's 100. If there's 100, there's 100,000. So any content, anything that's of value that you have to share, it's worth recording, it's worth putting online, and it's worth sharing with the world.
I think it's consistent content, because think about it. We all know not Carlton Banks. His first video didn't go viral. You know what I mean? Just to follow up with what you were saying, or the Patti LaBelle, James Wright, Chanel. It wasn't the first video that he had done. He had been doing videos forever. Tabitha Brown, you know what I mean? She just sat in her car one day, and that video was the video that took off, but there was still consistency. And I think that that's really what matters, the consistent content. Because one day, somebody will see it.
Yeah. I think that also for us as a team of administrators and creative professionals, we are who the content creatives rely on to do the other stuff. Like Erica said, she reviews contracts. Marlinda, I'm sure she assures that even in conferences and events that we are covered. As administrative professionals, we have to cover those people who are the creatives because they may not look at a contract. So you may have, you may hit the YouTube where you get 1 million views, but you never monetize because you didn't look at that part, you know?
Right.
So it's about being strategic. It's about being smart, and assuring that your content, like Erica said, is consistent, is quality, and that you cross all your I's, dot all your T's, and you prepare yourself to be successful.
Julia, you're going to chime in?
I was going to ask any of you, do you offer any tutorial services? I'm sure our viewers would be certainly interested in reaching out to you, contacting you to assist them in their moving forward in this digital age that we're in, or writing. Perhaps there's some books that are within that need to be released. And Erica, there's some creatives out there that need some assistance. And, you know, Marlinda, even with yourself. Can you guys share your...
I think for conferences, I'm gonna jump in there. For conferences, I'm always consulting with conferences. I know collectively, Marlinda, Dr. Maxwell, and myself can, if you got a conference idea, we can bring it to fruition. You know, we can help you from budgeting to how you should shoot it, reviewing that, creative emails, directives, adding in Erica. In terms of designing and things like that. If you have something that you want to bring to fruition, I believe that anyone on this team can help you, and we'll pull together and make it happen.
Yep. Erica, you're part of the team.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. I feel honored.
Erica Nicole.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not gonna leave you out. Erica, we recently did a conference, Propel, and we were on the phone every day, all the time. So it's a part. You basically become family once you do an event or something together.
Yeah. Let me ask another question for you all, because we are family. Do you all have mentors in your various areas?
I do, or I have colleagues that I respect in that area as well. So mentors. There is a cousin of mine who is and she gets embarrassed every time I say it, but she is literally the reason that I write. I had no business doing this, but when I was a kid and I was fumbling around, I was bad. So I found her diary.
Oh, you were?
Yes, I was horrible. And I found her diary and I read it, and it was so eloquently written. And I was like, wow. And so after she beat me up, she really took me under her wing with writing. And I mean, she still to this day, I will pass things through her. Like, hey, what do you think about this? This is an idea that I'm looking at, or you know, we share information. The same with colleagues. I have colleagues that I confer with, because this writing world, this content writing, especially African American, it's not a lot of us out there that are doing what we do. So it's a great opportunity, and it's great to have colleagues out there.
I have mentors. I think so between Monica Bacon, I was young when I started. I think I was 16 when I was doing Harvest Fire. You know, I wasn't even the ministry's age requirement to serve, and she kind of took me under her wing, and I was her right hand. And then Andrea Goodman, I know Marlinda, you know her as well. So, but then I benchmark. Like I don't just look at people who are mediocre. I look at people who are the best at what they do, and I study them. And that's how you still like an artist. You know, I study, and I don't necessarily study to emulate, but I do study like, okay, well, what have they done that was successful? You know, or people in my field, you know what I mean? Like I went to a Sunday service for Kanye West, right? I wasn't looking at, you know, the artistry was great, the atmosphere and the mood was amazing, but I'm looking at the people who are running this production, and I'm taking notes mentally as to, wow, like every moving part is moving seamlessly. You know what I mean? Later ending up get to getting to speak with the person, the producer. But I think that we should all have benchmarks, but yeah, mentors for sure.
Yeah.
That's good. For me, I think I do something similar to Erica. I have mentors more from a spiritual, personal realm, but for my industry, I do, as she said, I do more modeling. I look at, oftentimes it's not in ministry, or it's not in the field that I'm working in. I look at other industries to give me information. Like I went to a Jay-Z concert years ago, and I'm looking at how they were doing LED screens way back when, and he came up, popped up, came off a LED screen as a stage. Everything was wrapped in LED. And we as a church have just obtained that because of the cost. But this is something that another industry was doing back years ago. So for me, I'm looking at other industries, other models, and I do a lot of passive mentoring. I'll look at people into what they're doing and constantly follow what they're doing just to see how they're managing the shift in COVID, or how they're doing ministry and technology. And then I glean things from there. So whether that's Bishop Jakes, Joel Osteen, whether that's Anwa and Dr. Stevenson, all of those, Stephen Furtick, all those people are doing amazing things in ministry that, as for those that are smaller ministries, you don't necessarily have to do the same thing, but you can do something. I was just in a meeting and they were saying, you got to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. But sometimes you gotta take a slice of the apple, like, can I just get a slice and do something that they're doing, and then slowly you can grow to be comparable to them.
Julia?
I do. For a number of years now, Dr. Kim Yancey James, that's my big sister, and she and I have worked together side by side. So I kind of look towards her, especially in content writing, presentation. We do have our sessions, and so I'm grateful, for her input and pouring into me. And so, yeah, that's pretty much. And Elder Marianne from Onset years ago. Definitely was my first mentor in all that I actually do. So I'm grateful for her, definitely. So that was my initial mentor. Yes.
Yeah, I do have a mentor. I have a couple of mentors. And I meet with them quarterly, just to make sure that I'm on the right path. I know a couple of years ago, I was going to make a major decision that could have just messed up my entire career. And my mentor literally had to walk me off the ledge. And I was just at wit's end. But, you get to that point sometimes and enough is enough. And you just want to throw it all away. And my mentor literally called and said, you know what? Hey, why don't you take a walk? Go walk your dog. Because anybody knows me. That's the only way that will balance me out. Let me go take care of the dog and get outside and get some fresh air. And once I came back inside, I was much better. And because if I would have done that, my whole life would have been turned upside down. So the reason why I asked that, I just wanted to make sure that I was not on the island alone, and that everybody else on this platform, because I view you all as very high in high esteem. And I just want to make sure that I'm not alone, that you guys had mentors as well. And the reason why I asked that, which leads me to my next question, is if price tag, if money wasn't an issue for you all, and I know we all love money, because I love money just because we all like to shop and we all like nice things, and we love what we do, would you all do this without a price tag?
Well, I think, okay, I'm gonna just get this out of the way. I think that we all did. We all, if we grew up in church, I think we all did. Whether, don't be a PK. I mean, sometimes we had to clean the toilets. You know what I mean? We were never, same here. So, there's no limit to what you won't do. But I think there was a fine line where we had to transition and pivot, and realize that our homes have to be taken care of as well, and that we're worthy of our hire. And so while I will, but I can't, if it ain't about the money, I can't really do it no more.
I absolutely Listen, I agree with Erica 100%. I have absolutely, and it's a passion of mine. If I had to trade everything that I'm able to do, this is absolutely what I would be doing. In terms of content writing and things of that. It's what I do. However, I also am very clear that I am worth what the price is the price, and so while and I don't apologize for that. And be it family or whomever, I don't apologize for the price, because that's like, I'm not going to walk into Kroger and just say, hey, look, my cousin's the manager, so I'm gonna walk out of here with this tie. That's just not going to happen. So you have to, be responsible. But as far as passion is concerned, absolutely. It is something I'm absolutely passionate about. And I'm also clear on its worth.
Yeah.
And Jarrell, before you answer, I want to bring in Brian Major, who is going to join us for this part. He has been in the industry for 25 years with the professional side of broadcasting. He's a broadcasting manager. And Brian, you're just joining us, and you've been on the side of lights, camera, action for over 25 years. Let me just ask you one question, Brian. Would you do what you're doing for free? I know I'm just throwing you right in it.
Absolutely.
And good morning. Absolutely. You would?
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning to you. Absolutely. See, there's a thing called you reap what you sow. There's certain people and there's certain activities that you must begin to continue to sow into different people's lives. I don't do it with everyone. If someone can't afford me, I will sow into them, but the commitment has to be as you grow, we grow together. There's a church even right now that they can't afford me to be on site and edit. So, but what I do for them is allow them to pay me the full, then I tie it back what they can't pay for. But I make them give me a check. So at the end of the day, I have a write-off for IRS. I have different strategies, but I believe in sowing into people's lives. Because we all never got to this place without an opportunity, and without the opportunity, we would not get out of our apprenticeship into our professional career. See, and that's the thing where we gotta remember: how did we start? How are you helping someone else? Are you helping someone else who's starting? Because when you do that, I believe God will honor and God will be able to open doors, and the favor of the Lord will come upon you because you reap what you sow.
See, that's why I brought you in right here at this point, because I knew you was gonna come with that. I knew it. I knew it. Go on, because you got some more. Come on, give me some more.
Yeah. So I look at the whole thing about reaping and sowing, but I think it's important for us to realize we shouldn't think ourselves as too big when we started on the bottom. Remember those people who are starting out because they need us. But and I look at it like this: if I can make anybody of my clients successful, then I'm going to be successful. So do I put more work in and time in when I don't get paid for it? Absolutely. But God sees it all, and I don't believe that God will not bless me or open even bigger doors. There's been people who I had to work with, or I choose to work with, who couldn't pay a third of what I normally get, but I helped them and I do it. And then all of a sudden a Sony music contract comes. All of a sudden a college contract comes. So you can't beat the laws of giving. The laws of giving always comes back to you, but you got to be a giver. If you don't give tithes and offerings, those who don't give tithes and offerings complain the most, but those who give, they get the most. So I'm saying to you that I witnessed God help me because I've been faithful, consistent, and supporting people exactly where they are. So I don't look at the money situation all the time. I do look at the value of the purpose of the client, so that I can, because if I'm with you, that means I believe in you. I'm on this call today because someone else, Julia, called me, and I believe in her. I believe in what she's doing. So my investment, my time that I have to step away from another meeting to get on is important to invest, because one day I'm going to her too. And it's going to be reciprocated back because of the giving that we have with each other and just the love we have for each other. But I encourage you to just don't just focus on the money, but focus on the purpose. Because again, if I'm with you and I'm with a client, that's because I believe in that client. And all the time, I have never been burnt or never been, and even if they burnt me, didn't pay what they could have paid me, God opens another door for me and I get triple the amount of money that I would have got from them.
Yeah, can I add to that?
Yes, sir.
I think my answer is twofold. It's as Erica said, I believe in order to get here, we've paved the way in volunteerism, in giving away. And that experience for us has also been educational. It's where we learned a lot of what we have learned now. But then there comes a point in your career and your lives that you have to understand your value. And that's the key point, because for every hour, every time, everything that you give away is taken away from something else. For me, particularly, I value my time because I prefer, if I can, anytime that I'm not working, to spend with my family. So when I'm doing something that I am doing at a non-rate or free or volunteering, that time is being taken away from my family or something that could be empowering or enriching me. So I believe that oftentimes ministry, churches, etc., do not understand proper value of what corporate America or the world would pay for, and it's until that they have to go out and seek the true value of that they understand what people are often given for free. For example, with the conference that we recently did, they sought another vendor for the conference, and the vendor, their price was just astronomical, but then they came to someone in-house and they were able to do that at a much lower cost. So it's understanding the difference between what that person charged you at the lower rate and what you're actually getting, the value of what you're actually getting. You're getting a $30,000 vendor for $5,000. So to me, I believe I saw a comment that said they know what, oftentimes ministries know what they can afford or they can afford you, but they choose not to. So it's about that appreciation. It's about taking, like what Brian said, and though you can't afford 30, but at least give me a payment for 30 or give me an invoice for 30 or something that I can receive some form of benefit for it. And then it's for us as creators, always understanding our value in that, no, we may not be doing it for corporate America who are making millions, but they're still, here's the value, the monetary value and the time value of what I'm doing. I'm not just doing it for free. There's an expense always that comes with it. If there's time taken away, there's time taken away from your family, from yourself, or from something else. So yes, I would do it for free. Yes, I believe many of us have done it for free. But I think at this day and age, we got to be strategic about when and how and why we do it for free.
And I mean, I think that the Holy Spirit leads us in all things, you know what I mean? And so we know when and where, because some people will take advantage of you if you're not careful. And they will play you small, especially if you're in a smaller ministry or church where you grew up there. And they just see you as Pookie because they remember you when you were 5. They don't see the education, the knowledge, and the time that you've spent, fine tuning your skill and your craft, But I that's why, I promise if I give a discount on an invoice, now there are some people that if when Elder Julia calls me, I don't tell her no. Doesn't matter what it is. You know what I mean? Now, there's no price tag associated with, I'm going to charge you to sit on the, on the stream. No, absolutely not. But when I'm providing services, however, if I give a discount, I include the discount on the invoice so that they see, this was the price of the service. This is what I've discounted you. So that way, and it's not even just for me. It's so that the next person that they hire, that they won't shortchange them and they understand what the value of it was. Because if we don't understand our value and if we don't demand it, I think there was a Miles Monroe video and he talks about Les Brown and he just became a public speaker and he didn't know what to charge and he was going to shortchange himself because we don't always see our value. And so, and it's not that we have to demand it, but there are some instances where, because in business, we are to be men. So there's a difference between whether this is a ministry opportunity or a ministry responsibility or a business opportunity. And I think that's where the Holy Spirit has to govern, in those instances.
Go ahead, Brian. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, so what I've learned over the years is a principle. When I work for churches and I try to consult churches and pastors and leaders, there is a pay scale and there is a process to when you should pay people. Okay, here's principle number one. And I say this to a pastor, I say this to leaders, and I say this to people who are hiring people inside the church. And this is be part of the book that I'm writing and to help them understand when you got to pay somebody. The first principle is when you ask somebody to do something that does not interfere with their normal means of living, that's called volunteerism. That's called serving. That's called helping and supporting the church. But point number two, when you ask somebody to do something that interferes with their normal means of living, that's called stipend, part-time, or full-time work. And then the third principle is you look at the scope of what you're trying to have them do. If you're asking someone to do something that takes someone 8 hours a day to do it for 5 days, that's called a full-time employee. Now, on the flip side, all of us, and I had to learn this. I had to create something called discipline. Discipline creates boundaries. Because in those boundaries, you gotta remember this. Because we are givers. We do the work. We have the ability to do the work. Givers give so much more, and takers continue to take. So you gotta have boundaries around yourself. For example, I have a boundary. Wednesday night from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock is family time. I have a boundary where I don't lend money to family and friends if it's my bill money. I have boundaries that I have to put behind a discipline to make sure that my goals and the things I have for my family that God gave me to take care of is met. And when we began to start looking at other people, I began to value myself. I won doing the homework, doing the research. What do I mean by that? All of us on this call, whatever you're doing, whatever your profession is, I always call other companies to give me a quote for the same thing, the competing company, just to see what they're going to give me. And then once they tell me that price, I can see my value even greater. And then I start working with organizations. And what I do, I don't discount it and say, okay, here's what your discount is. I charge them the full amount. And then I said, I'm going to tithe or give an offering back to your church for this amount to balance out the bill so that I can benefit. Now, we have to think about strategy as business owners. We must think about strategy and how it can work for us. If I can't make it work for me financially, monetarily, then I need to look at another at the end of the year when I do my taxes. Having a $50,000, $60,000 donations going to churches helps me in my taxes. So we can win on both sides. So we got to be strategic in everything we do so that our work can continue to help us move forward. And I make sure that I make sure that I have enough clients to pay my bills, to pay my staff, to pay my office, to pay my operation expenses. I make sure I have enough of those so then when people ask me to do something and it interferes, I have to say no.
That you brought up a good point, Brian. So how do you all manage both responsibilities? He said family, and he said, his 9 to or his jobs or things he has to do. So how do you all manage your responsibilities?
For me, I believe I have the similar system of boundaries. My wife is a doctor. Oftentimes that requires her to be either out of the home or leave the house in the middle of the night. Different things like that. I have a good support system. It's about having a family structure that if you are working or you're busy, that you have people around you that can support you, that push you. When we were talking about mentors, a lot of my mentors are my family members, those that push you and guide you and direct you. So it's about that support system to help you maintain that balance and structure between work and family. Oftentimes I'm diving in deep and I won't come up, but they say, okay, they'll pull you away to say, okay, you need a break, you need some balance. Let's go hang out, even with your kids, assuring that that you're giving it the proper time, because you never want to give so much to work and you neglect them. And before you look up, they're older and they've matured and you've missed crucial moments because you were thinking that if I work and I get money and I do different things in terms of success in a career, that they'll be happy with me. But when they only wanted you to tuck them in or to be there with them or to teach them how to ride a bike and things like that. So the people around me help me to be accountable to my family and to assure that I always have balance.
Good.
I think it's about enacting and respecting boundaries. And I think that's it. I think that's important. And I think sometimes we get frustrated with, and I think it's almost indirect frustration, but we get frustrated with people and clients and this, that, and the other, because we're like, oh, they're not respecting my boundaries. But that starts with you first. It starts with you establishing those boundaries and saying, hey, this is a line. I have I say all the time, even though I could, I have the ability to handle a certain amount of clients, I don't have the capacity to do that and still be a good husband, a good father, because those are all of those things that still have to be honored. And I want to bring my best self to all of those things. I don't want to bring the leftover of me after I've been writing for 20 hours. And then now I'm like, oh, okay, here, my brain is fried. If I've been writing for, hours and hours and hours, the mental exhaustion thereafter is that's just not the time to say, okay, we're going to plan a family outing after that. It's being realistic. It's recognizing that on these days when I write, I'm unavailable, but then I'm also blocking off days for family. I'm blocking off days to navigate life as a husband and do all of those things. You have to be very strategic with that. I hate to say it, but every hour has an assignment. It really does. Even if the assignment is rest, every hour has to have an assignment.
That's good.
This is true because I'm sorry. I've texted Robert a few times, Dr. Maxwell, and he's, made it clear, hey, can I give you a call later or can I give you a call tomorrow? I'm hanging out with the family, having dinner with the wife, so you have to respect that. And so I personally need to set boundaries. I've not ever done that before. And you all are teaching me at this point. I definitely need to set boundaries for myself because I know at night I keep my phone on mute because it will constantly ping all night long. And so it's very important. And I thank you for sharing that because I need to learn to set boundaries on all levels.
I deliberately schedule meetings around my workout times because workout is very important to me at this point. So I don't do meetings at 7:00 on Tuesdays or Thursdays, Saturday at 9:00. But for Julia today, I did this. But normally I don't do that because that's my time to work out. Mason's walking time, 1:00, 6:00. I don't do that because that's my time to walk with my dog and I get outside and I can just not do anything but enjoy outside, walk my dog. I mean, those are just my personal times. I remember a time during Christmas, I went home and I said, I'm not going to take my computer this time. And my family was like, oh my gosh, Marlinda, you've been so present this Christmas. And I was like, but I'm always home for Christmas. They said, no, you're not working. I literally went to the room and cried because I felt like I was doing, I know I'm always home, but I felt so horrible to my family, like, oh my gosh, I've been here all this time, but I'm never here. And I said, never again will that happen because I allowed work to come inside of my household. And I said, this will never happen again. And I had to go back and apologize. I felt horrible. And that from that day forward, I said, this is why I have to have boundaries.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
snatched the words off of the page. I was playing a game one night with the kids. It's called We're Not Really Strangers. And so it's a very social, it breaks down all kinds of barriers. And they were telling me like, well, you used to, you would be sitting there and your phone would be out. And so I was like, I made it my task to be present in the moment. So whether if I'm home with them, I'm present. If I'm working, I'm present there. But you literally snatched the words off my page because you can't. I want to give my best self to them, but then I also want to give my best self to me. So for me, self-care became a non-negotiable, because I realized I couldn't give from an empty cup. So I had to make sure that I was doing the things that were filling and edifying my spirit and my soul as well.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I think even having that support system, your kids with for those, I think Erica said your kids will pull it out of you. Like, what are you doing? You've been up here all day. Come on, let's do something fun. And if you don't have that balance, you'll look up and they'll be grown. My oldest just turned 16, and I'm like, where did the time go? So you got to have that balance in terms of family.
Yeah, and it's often, especially when you're a high achiever, it's hard to pull yourself out of that what I call that achievement model, especially if you're in a vein. And really, as a writer, if I've been having a moment where I can't write, or and of course, as a person who writes by profession, you have to learn to write by discipline and not by inspiration. So you have to do it. And if I'm in there and I'm writing and somebody knocks on the door and I'm like, hey, but again, like Erica said, it's about bringing your best self to all of those moments. Best self as a professional, best self, father, husband, all of those things. And so it's again, the boundaries are key, and knowing how to navigate those boundaries is really critical.
And that's so key because you all have children, spouses for the most part. I'm my mother's caregiver, so a lot of times she'll get annoyed with me because either sometimes she may be waiting for dinner or something, and why are you not responding? Because my train of thought, I'm going to lose my train of thought. And so, like you said, Robert, you have to, although you want to be present, but right then something strikes, and you have to make sure, you get that content you're writing, and you want to just keep flowing. And the moment something distracts you, your thought, for me, breaks. And so I try to shut myself away. But again, you all are teaching me boundaries or teaching me how to set boundaries for myself, which I'm going to begin doing today. Thank you so much. And learn to put the phone down, spend some quality time. And so I'm grateful for that, as I am grateful for each of you. Our Madam Chair Lady, our co-host, had to excuse herself. She has another engagement, and so we are certainly grateful for her being with us today. What a blessing she was. She really navigated us through this morning. And yes, someone, I think it was her daughter Morgan, said her mom should be on CNN with Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. So yes, Marlinda is excellent at her craft and what she does. So we're grateful to her. And then Brian is back with us. We lost him for a moment. Brian is our media mastermind. He had an engagement this morning, so hence him joining us later. But we're thankful for you coming on with us, Brian. I'm not sure if you know the others that are on.
No, I enjoyed what they were. I think I see. I really can't see on my screen. I really can't see, but I think I know people that's on here. But I just want to say everyone on here has great information, and I just think that as we grow, I believe that going back to that conversation about our boundaries, just as corporations, you ever work for a corporation and they tell you to pull out your calendar and they black out.
We're losing you a little bit, Brian. Brian, yeah, I think we've lost him. Oh, so unfortunate. But yeah, this has really been a great gathering this morning, and I am so excited that you all again agreed to join us. I've learned so much more about you all.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, especially with Jarrell and Robert, just seeing you both over the years through Full Gospel and not really knowing totally, what your position or what you were doing behind the scenes, but just learning more about you just this morning, and of course reading your bios, it really it's very, very inspiring, and I look forward to now working with some experts. Not saying that I didn't know you were before, but I know who you're connected to, so that was a given. I know if you're with Dr. Oliver and Bishop Love, that's a given, and what's expected of you both. And especially being with Full Gospel, there's no lack or slack there, and I know that for sure. And so I'm just grateful for all of you and Erica, my dear heart family, for me. Whatever I can do for you, please do not hesitate to call. And I'll erase my boundaries for you all. I appreciate that.
No, don't do that. That's not okay either. No, your boundaries are non-negotiable.
You got to go back and watch
I'm
this.
Still learning. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch, right? Oh, Lord. Yeah, I am going to. So I just wanted to personally thank you, all 3, 4, 5 of you, for joining us today. And we're looking forward to watching and seeing greater things come from you all. I thank you for posting your contact information. I'm sure there are viewers on there that are certainly interested in reaching out so that we can all better improve and enhance our businesses and our ministries as we move forward. So again, we want to thank our chairwoman for the National Coalition of Black event professionals, Merlinda Henry, Dr. Robert Maxwell, Erica, the creative mind, Erica Nicole, the ingenious, the genius himself, Jarrell Jones. What was that? Wasn't there a TV show back in the day with the kid that was a genius? What? It was a cartoon. Am I dating myself? There was a cartoon, though. He was a little genius. That's what you remind me of. Yeah, I'm going to find that. But yeah. And Brian Major, our media mastermind, unfortunately, we lost him coming on, his connection. But thank you so much. I hope this was informative for everyone, all of our viewers. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. And to our technician, Nigeria Bailey, who is the founder and CEO of Butterfly East Graphics Design. Nigeria, you saw her commenting as well, because she does understand the business. And so grateful to each of you again. And I pray that you all have an enjoyable balance of your day and probably some of you, I know we still are, a virtual worship experience tomorrow. And so I look forward to chatting with you soon. Everyone be blessed. Have a great day. And thank you.
Have a great one. Thank you.
Again, Jarrell.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Enjoy, sir. All right.
Indeed.
Congratulations.
All right. Bye-bye.
Be blessed.